Destroy, dismantle, disable. The thing is, you can't build a community, but you can enable it. Having retired from GMP, I remember walking out the door thinking, this force is fucked.
Yeah.
Because of the game playing of stats. And it was a relief to leave, because no longer was I going to have that obsession pressed down on me with targets that, I get it, it's important, like solving burglaries is important, I get that, but to the detriment of everything else. And so when I walked out, I remember thinking, this force isn't a mess. And then 1 year later, it went into special measures. Don't get me wrong, I think Stop Search is a great tool. We utilised it. I think arresting people who do bad things and bringing them to justice and holding them to account, absolutely. Detecting crime, that's what the police are about. That's a big job for them. But an obsession with that to the detriment of, you've got complex problems like homelessness, where it's not just a police problem, it's a housing problem, it's a mental health problem, it's a drug and alcohol addiction problem, it's a community problem.
Yeah.
And the like handling stolen goods, well, it's not a priority for us. It should be. This person was the handler for how many thieves, how many burglars?
Yeah.
And we've cut the head off the snake. And the tackling of organised crime, I mean, forget clear hold build. That's what they're doing at the moment. Like, that's not going to work. How's that going to work? That's something from Afghanistan. It didn't work in Afghanistan. So why are we doing that now? What we did instead was something called destroy, dismantle, disable. That was our motto. Destroy, dismantle, disable. Enable, enable, enable. So doing two things at the same time, very systematic, deliberate things. Tackling organised criminality, bringing them to justice, using all sorts of, like Proceeds of Crime Act and all sorts of other offences and legislation from other sectors, like the council and housing associations were big partners for us, closing down nightclubs that were run by OCG because they had 240 people on the dance floor and their fire certificate only allowed for 230. Just like the Al Capone way, like by any legal and ethical means possible, we will bring them to justice.
Yeah.
Very few people faced convictions, but we still managed to topple them, destroy, dismantle, disable. But the enable part is when you do that, you create a vacuum in the community. The illegitimate leadership in that community no longer exists. But does it? Because if you don't fill that vacuum with strong, cohesive community, then you'll just get more up-and-coming OCG to fill that vacuum. But the thing is, you can't build a community, but you can enable it. You can enable it to enable them to build themselves. And that's what we did. We did a lot of work around participatory budgeting, time banking, enabling community groups to get off the ground, forming an association of associations, having a 3-year vision that would put together alongside the community. Less public servant, more citizen enabler. And this goes back to the thing I alluded to before, like the Peelian principle, which most police officers don't know. Actually, I'm going to ask you, Paul, like, I'm going to put a bit of a test here. Oh, yes, a bit of a test here. So one of the Peelian principles starts with the historic tradition that the police are the public and the public are the police. The historic tradition that the police are the public and the public are the police. You hear it all the time, don't you? You hear at press conferences. This reminds us of the principle that the police are the public and the public are the police. But there's more to it.
Go on then.
No. The historic tradition, this is in 1829. So this is one of the things that guided me and guided our team, the Peelian principles. Like they're as good now as they were then in 1829 when they were set in stone. The historic tradition that the police are the public and the public are the police just being members of the public who are paid full-time to carry out a role which is incumbent on every citizen in the interests of community welfare and existence. So what Sir Robert Peel was saying there, I think, is that like old police officers are just paid members of the public, but they're paid to carry out a role which is actually incumbent. Big word that, like incumbent. And he changes the terminology, incumbent on every citizen. And I think there's a difference between a member of the public who's a passive receiver of services and an active citizen. So in every citizen, and then there's a bit that's genius, like in the interest of community welfare and existence. He could have said in the interest of reducing crime, he could have said in the interest of getting the bad guys, he could have said in the interest of community safety, but he didn't.